Welcome back. Well, we have Jerry here on behalf of Pacific Financial Planners, and you may know that he has forums here in the village, and we'll talk a little bit about that in just a bit. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Good. You know, you always have a smile on your face when we're just racking our heads about what to do with our finances, because we never know when we're going to make a mistake. And you and I had talked in the past about some other investments that, you know, you get a little scared because you see all this volatility. You see, well, there isn't as much going on with the interest rates these days. But, you know, where are we at today? I mean, what are we looking at?
You know, it's a great question, Lisa. We're kind of in a bipolar economy, it seems like. It really does. There's a lot of people talking about a potential recession, and they're talking about all the reasons why we can have a recession. And I get it. You know, they're saying earnings are going to go down, and so far, the earnings that have come in, which is we're about a third of the way through the fourth quarter earnings season, which because you're reporting today what happened last year.
Okay.
And you're a little, you know, it is a little down year over year, but not as bad as expected. But you have what's called the Purchasing Managers Index for both services as well as manufacturing, and 50 is a nominal number. Anything above 50 shows the economy's growing, below 50 shows that it's shrinking. And we're below 50 on both those numbers, which indicate a shrinking economy. We're all seeing the layoffs, especially in the tech sector, in the housing sector, banking sector. So people are saying, oh my goodness, you know, this is all recessionary environment.
Right.
But at the same time, we have a very low workforce participation, so there's a lot of jobs out there for people that want to work. In addition, in the housing market, most people have owned their homes that have owned their homes for a few years have interest rates below 4% and some below 3% locked in for 30 years. So it's the new people. I don't think we're going to see a housing crisis like we saw in 2007 to 2009.
Right.
Because, you know, then everyone was fully loaned out on their house. They had 100% loan to value. We don't have that. People are making payments. We have about a 3-4% savings rate. We had a negative savings rate. So, you know, there's signs on both sides, but inflation is still the animal out there that's scary.
Right. And I think what's a bit confusing for a lot of people is you have our administration and several other folks that say, oh yeah, no, don't worry, everything's great. But it really isn't that great.
You're right. It really isn't that great, because what happened, inflation is rising prices. It's the rate that your costs go up year over year to buy your groceries, your gasoline, cars, you know, homes. That is inflating prices. That's what that is. And those prices went up last year 8-9% on average, and some things like eggs and, you know, certain things were up, you know, tremendously, right? 30, 40, 50% in double in some cases.
Right.
But let's just say across the board, it costs everybody now 10% more than it cost last year. Those rates, those prices aren't going to go down. They're just going up a little bit slower. Now they're going up maybe 5 to 6%. So things cost more. The economy's slowing. More people are losing their jobs. Something has to give there. It's just how bad is this? So there's this other kind of scenario that we had in the 70s called stagflation.
Right.
Where you have a stagnant economy with rising prices. And that's really kind of the worst of all worlds. Unfortunately, that's kind of what I see for this year. How bad that gets remains to be seen. So people still need to be very cautious with their investments.
So wouldn't that really determine, or wouldn't that be, I guess what I'm trying to say is that the jobs market, I mean, isn't that where you kind of figure out whether you're in stagflation or not, is that so many people would lose their jobs, so it would shoot up the unemployment rate?
Well, again, there's the unemployment rate, and then there's the workforce participation rate, and those are way different. People get confused. The unemployment rate are people who are actively looking for work, and this workforce participation rate means a number of people don't really want to work. They want to be on either the government dole, or maybe they've got a side hustle where they work for cash. You know, you've got people here in the village that do, you know, some of that stuff. So they may not really be looking for a job. I think the unemployment rate, because there's so many jobs out there, isn't going to be as bad. But if people drop out of the workforce, you know, that's when you start having problems. But the reality is everyone needs to figure out where they are for themselves. And like you kind of said, is I have a smile on my face, but there's so many people that don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So they do nothing. That is not a good strategy.
Right.
Hope is not a good strategy. You need to find out where you are and what your needs are. How much income do you need? And is that income sustainable for the rest of your life? If it is, then you want to be conservative in this environment.
Right.
If you don't have enough income, then you're kind of forced to take risk. But we can get a riskless 4 to 5% rate of return, a little bit more than 5%, with absolutely no risk right now.
Yeah.
And yet there's still people here in the village that are hoping that their stock portfolios that they have, maybe even 50, 60% in the stock market, come back when maybe they shouldn't be taking any risk at all.
You know, there's a lot of folks who retire and then they, you know, maybe get a second job, so they have something that's part-time in addition to maybe their Social Security. But they're saying to themselves, well, you know what, I'm not going to live that long. So I don't need to save that much money, or I don't need to have more than 15, 20 years because my parents, you know, they died young, so I'm probably going to die young. What do you say to people like that?
Well, again, it's the old adage, you know, prepare for the worst, you know, or, you know, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Right.
And that's what you have to do, is you can't just base it on your parents, because we had better health care than our parents had. We had better food supplies than our parents had. Everything is better. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to live longer. We may or we may not. But you've got to kind of plan to live longer. I mean, the average life expectancy for a 65-year-old male today is 85, and for a female is 88. Now, that's average, Lisa.
Yeah.
Which means half of the people, 65, are going to live longer than 88. I mean, statistically, it's better than 50-50. A married couple, one of them is going to be in their 90s.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing, is we have better health care. So you've got to figure out that things with inflation, means inflating prices,
Right.
are going to cost more over time. Where's that income source going to come from?
Right.
You've got to plan for income in retirement.
Right.
And it's a safer way to go. And right now, like I said, there's riskless transactions out there that can give you, meaning no risk whatsoever,
Right.
4 to 5%.
Right.
And if you're not certain, maybe doing nothing isn't the right strategy. So that's why we have these forums, so people can come and
Right.
learn more about it and ask their questions.
Well, exactly. And here is your next forum is going to be Thursday, February 9th. Now, your topic here is, will a recession rob your retirement? And, you know, that is a really important question, and you've addressed it here today, is that things are much more expensive. So now you have to cut back on just how many times you maybe go out to dinner, or maybe you're not going to buy that really yummy steak. Now you're going to get something different.
Yeah, if you're on a fixed income, inflation is really the silent killer out there. It truly is. And that's the issue that's not going away. If the rate of inflation is lower than it was last year, that means prices are still going higher.
Right.
But just not as much. But they're still going, you know, it's going to be less and less affordable. That's why you've got to rebalance your portfolio accordingly. And there's a lot of people just sit there and say, it's kind of like watching a slow motion car crash. They're saying, you know, oh, look, here comes a car. It looks like it might hit me. Oh, wow, I hope that doesn't happen. And that's not a good strategy. If it's coming at you slow motion, maybe you should move right or left or get out of the way.
Exactly.
And we have that opportunity right now, but a lot of people just hope and pray, and well, that prayer is okay, but it's not going to work on your portfolio.
It might not work on the portfolio. All right, let's go ahead and let everybody know again. The Financial Forum is going to be at Clubhouse 7 on February 9th, and it's from 3 to 5 p.m. No RSVP needed. You can just show up and talk with others, which I think is great. You do provide guidance, but others are telling each other, you know, some great things that they've done or things that they've made mistakes, which is really a great way to go. And of course,
absolutely.
Thank you as always. We appreciate the information.
Well, thanks for having me, Lisa.
All right. For more information about anything that we've discussed, you can always go to their website, which is pfpinvest.com, or give them a call at 949-219-0692.